Well, hello there, everybody. How are y'all doing on this Prosperity Monday? Well, that's what Mondays are. Some people say Mondays get them down. I don't think so. I think it's just a matter of, turning that frown upside down. So welcome everybody as I hit that button there, and there I am. Steiger, you're looking good, dude. Yeah, feeling good too, by the way, my friend. Well, all right, just sending you a little message from the future. You're looking good. Y'all are looking good. So good to see everybody. How are you doing? Expedition members, soul tribe, knowledge seekers, all of us. Yeah, yeah. We're all in the boat, just rolling away, going down this thing called life. Yeah. It's kind of exciting, actually. So let me just speak favor over us all. Nothing missing, nothing broken. Yeah. And Boston, be of service to others. It's always the best way. You know, share the love, spread it around because there's a lot of clowns out there. But I do see and trust that there will be always these enclaves of where love never dies. We see the craziness and we just say, okay, it's your bag, baby. But we'll just speak love. Yeah. hmm Far out kind of love. So welcome everybody in the chat room. Boy, it's loaded in there. Man, look at everybody. Let me just go up here from the top and just say, El Lala Bright, how are you? Thank you. She says she loves the shows. Well, right back at you. Witch Moon, good to see you. And hello, Joyce. Always good. Deborah Sloan, how are you, my dear? Good to see you. Let's see. Shadow Files, what's up? And as I go down and go and sure, Purgatory Traveler, how are you? Good to see you. Grace, what's up? Man, I'll talk a little bit more about our meeting yesterday. Wow. Um, Seriously, you'll want to sign up for the second expedition for sure. Hello, Stephanie Marie. How are you? Good to see you. Speaking prosperity over you always. Let's continue. Pamela, how are you doing? I knew a Pamela growing up. Lived right down the street from me. Uh, yeah. Nina, what's up, girl? Good to see you as well. Rick, hello. Yeah, we'll be talking about, you know, all of us that got together. Mary wins. Much love to you, darling. Gilbert Smith, what's up, buddy? Good to see you again as well. Um, and Josh, Mr. Floyd. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. That's all you can say. Jet, hello. And as I continue to go down there, Loretta, see all the everyone, that's a lot of them that I saw last night. Lynn, hello. Trina, what's up? She's driving. She was busy on this. Orwin, good to see you as well. Twilight Miss, what's up? So, as I continue, Sylvia, good to see you as well. John Price, what's up? Lauren, yeah, we did. There was a lot of trepidation within this group. It's like, oh man, you guys are you really going to go out and do that? There's a lot of scary stuff out there. There's a lot of scary stuff out here in reality, or if this is what you want to call reality. Uh, what? Um, well, I thought I sent that out, Twilight. Well, we'll have to make sure. Hate that when that happens. Gaia, good to see you. We won't make that happen again. Devin, hello. Um, wow. All right. Geez. It's like, gee, I feel bad about that. I thought we had everyone on the list. Well, if that should ever happen, email me. I send it out right about 10 minutes, 15 minutes before the show. So, um, but there was this, real hesitating. And I guess a lot of fear Heck, I mean, that's to be understood where someone say, hey, you like my dragon shirt? This is the golden dragon. Yeah. It's like it came to me and I went, okay. So and got one over there too. But anyway, you think I've forgotten I'm driving this bus. Everyone on board, by the way. I think we closed the doors. Are the doors still open? I don't know. Lost in Space, what's up? Good to see you as well. The Telus break room. So, you know, and if you've never really, purposely, we all dream, daydream. Meditation is a form of in the astral as well. Um, but a lot of intrepidation. People think it's spooky and scary. Listen, it's both. It's kind of like this substance, You frame reality out of it. How cool is that? Thank you, Nina. It is a cool shirt, isn't it? Here, get up everyone can see. Is that not just like the coolest freaking shirt? And I mean, it is as bright gold as you can see. But anyway, you gotta love it. The doctor's in the house. Hello, Black Sheep. Got your email. We'll be getting back to you as well. Uma, hello. Good to see you. Susan, what's up? But anyway, so and that's how I see it. Listen, if you believe in a God, monotheistic or polytheistic, whatever it is, may not believe in a God at all. May believe that, there is this force that permeates everything. It's not a specific personality. I kind of lean on that. But nevertheless, we have these abilities that, remember, it was human, mostly men, sadly, that wrote this shit. Going to be doing a show on the dying religions of the past. Christianity is one of those. I say the Abrahamic religions are dying. Why? Because that God is of the bullshit. But anyway, and we're looking at the title is The Dying Gods of the Past. The bull has been barbecued and the fish is cooked. Oh, come on. That is just funny. Hello, Steve. What's up? Good to see you as well. Um, but so, but we as a species, we create this. We're going to talk a little bit more about the proof on what they've been where science is at now on the afterlife, the great beyond. And it's interesting because if you study it, and I do, um, you can begin to get people in certain categories of if they've had a genuine near-death experience. And those who are fear-based, of which virtually all religions are fear-based. If you don't worship those gods, they die. So they're going to tell you they're going to punish you if you don't worship them. So men create this stuff. And then, it's like this. No one has ever seen an original book in the Bible. It doesn't exist. Oh, they say it does, but no one's seen it. So if you've never seen it, so how can you say it exists? Oh, maybe, So anyway, they write this stuff supposedly under the inspiration, you know, God's talking to them. So if God can talk to them, why can't God talk to us? Well, why can't you just talk to God? Um, no, you have to have this mediator, right? But anyway, I digress. So in the ether, those places exist, and people who have near-death experiences who go to hell, quote unquote, is that they have this strong foundation of fear of dying, and then not being able to meet the expectations of their God. And so, these books are never explicit on what heaven is and in all its glory, but they're real specific and telling you what hell is. And those are all basically modern constructs. So in the astral, they exist. So when people have that near-death experience, if they're really this fear-based thing, then that's what they're going to experience. Then you got others like myself who it was nothing scary about it. It's like, well, what's all the hype about? But anyway, we're going to get into that because it's really interesting. So let me give you an update on last night. In fact, Josh, we ought to have you come on, and if any one of the expedition members want to come on, Ginger, I'd love to have you on. I mean, whoever could give you their perspective. But I can tell you this, there were, I think, consistently there was 18, 19 people. And when you have that intimate group, 20 is not a large group, is it? Um, you begin to develop um, a much more deeper appreciation of getting to know one another. And folks, it is just mind-boggling. It really is. So many travelers that are in this group. Now there's probably a lot of travelers, and as I look out into the chat room and listening, a lot of seers. Wow. And as an observer, I just marvel at how the group is congealing, coming together. And we had our first expedition into the astral last night. And I'll let the chat room talk. There's almost everyone is in here. Hello, Barbara. Good to see you. Please let everyone else know. I mean, it was remarkable, um, and powerful to have that large of a group purposely step into the astral realm and fully prepared for it, and then to see the similarities of every person that was there. And Grace, I happen to agree with you that it's like we have our own bodyguards. They're there. Everyone sensed them. And what was so uncanny was how you had 19 people that were meeting virtually over a medium, and how our individual perception were so in line with everyone else. And we all sense these beings. They're there. I mean, it wasn't scary, it wasn't spooky. Next week, folks, we get to really have some fun. We're going to kind of step out and beyond the door. That's when it's going to get exciting. It's when we don't have the door there anymore. It's there, but we will continue to search. Yeah. So, and everyone, as you can see, and Ginger's right, we nearly all saw the same thing. It was just amazing. Exceeded my expectations immensely. So we're going to have fun. And I don't know about y'all, the ones that, and on the team, it was like my dreams last night. Wow. Very, very intense. And I have no doubt it's a residual of what we experienced. So, yeah, yeah, they do got our backs, Lauren. Absolutely. But folks, and it tells me that we can do this on a much bigger scale. But we'll continue to pioneer, document what we're experiencing. And I have no doubt at the end of this expedition that, every one of the people on there can conduct their own um, adventures with groups. So you're really going to love it. Uh, Josh, Mr. Floyd, he went to tell us to the break room. And I'm still telling you, Josh, I saw when so, and I won't get into it, but when Josh says that, he was basically, sent to the break room, and that was through Michael and um, Jermaine. I swear I saw it in my head. I saw that scene of Men in Black, when you had him going into the break room. Oh, come on, that was just funny with the worms there. Anyway, getting off track. I'm not trying on purpose to be in the astral, but I got this feeling there maybe not. Hey, absolutely. Barbara, and I think that's the great thing. Is that this is remarkable. And now, folks, wouldn't you agree? You can see why there's so much interest from, government, corporate, military concerns that if individuals like us can do this, and as we get better and as we go deeper and deeper, yeah. So, did you see, by the way, where AI now has contracts with studios? I was reading a story about Lionsgate. Wow, AI going to be writing movies, television, songs, and then our creativity continues to be suppressed, continued to be siphoned off to where we regress back to the point where we can't even think music anymore. I come at it, from years in the film and video industry. And so one of my Bibles was Ad Age, amongst the other industry uh, journals. And it was a big deal to get an Addy. My company did. And, particularly if you get gold. So that means, that ad executives recognize that the creative of the individual or company. And so this peak of creativity, which I contend passed back in the 20th century, we're on the decline now. And there is no creativity in ads anymore. And I'm kind of off on a sidetrack here, but it's something I was a part of in my life. Um, when you have advertising having to revert to songs, particularly from, when songs were really songs, and now they're incorporating it merely to get an emotional reaction without having to be creative in the ad itself. It's like, anyway, so I digress. Uh, Millie, what's up? Wayne, why does your thumbnail look what I saw to the left when I get to the astral? I don't know, Millie. That's interesting. Yeah, Josh, it's true. We've lost our imagination. This is why I love this group. We are a group where imagination plays a major role. Remember years and years ago, I did a whole session on this gift of imagination. There's many different thoughts of how man got imagination. In one particular thought was that man didn't have imagination until man could actually begin to express what his mind was seeing, right? Then that gave us, you know, this epiphany. We suddenly had imagination that, wow. And what I see imagination as, it's really kind of the key that opens the door to this astral realms. It's our imagination. I mean, what a gift of the gods, I think. So, all right. uh, tell you what, next week we are going to have a time. I really anticipate down the road as we get further into this adventure that we're going to make contact, folks. We're going to make contact. Trust me on that. We're going to do it. All right. So we know here in America, particularly, that our government is planning for a mass casualty event. Well, if you got casualties, typically that has to deal with death. And, what is about to hit Florida, no doubt people are going to lose their lives in that. And so whatever they got planned down the road, and you see, it's expeditions like ours where I believe we can change that. The Astro is not run by the Democrats, not run by the Republicans. It's not run by the Christians, not the Muslims, not the Jews, not the Hindus. No. Now, what happens there, you can take that substance and begin to work that substance, and that then begins to then coalesce and integrate into this plane of existence, which then affects other humans. Why? Because they're human. And we're all connected to the astral. I used to call it the spiritual realm. You can call it the ethereal realm, but it's whatever you call it, it does exist. It's where you will go to live when you lay down this body. And that's why it's so important that we study on this, so that when your time of transitioning comes, whether it's because of a disaster or because of natural events, you are able to transition in peace, without fear, without anxiety. You can actually come there. And the more you're versed with this ethereal astral realm, the better you will be in this realm. Because you begin to see that as messed up as this realm is, it does hold its magic. We all love it. And no matter how we're navigating through it, it's still far fucking out. It truly is. But the thing about it is, it's an amusement park. We don't stay here. We're here to enjoy it, to experience it, and then we take that with us. And so if we can become so versed in being able to explore, because everything is mental, the universe is mental, then we will be far better off being able to help others. I contend that the religions of the world are dead religions. I was recently talking with someone about Christianity. Christianity is on the decline. No one gives a fuck about Jesus. We've all heard the stories, and for most people, it's meaningless now. And why? Because it's a dead religion. There's no supernatural happening in none of these religions. And then that makes us in the point, and to be quite literal, or if you want to take the stars into it, time of the Old Testament was the bull, Taurus. Then you had Pisces, the fish. That was the time of whatever the hell. Christianity is such a bloody religion anyway. But anyway, well, it's dead. The fish has been fried. And you know what fish fry smells like after the second day? It begins to stink. I love barbecue, give me a good brisket. So that's been doing. So what is going to be the new religion? By the way, happy birthday, Kaz Hawk. Saw that you had a birthday, so much love. So I'm sitting here going, so what is going to be the new religion? Someone's going to replace it. And I often wonder if it's exploratory groups like this, when we get out there, because it's obvious that humans of the past have been connected out there. I mean, you're going to write a letter that you said God wrote to you, and you're going to be able to be so specific that you can take a first person to third person position in writing it. You're writing for a God. That's pretty powerful stuff. It's a pretty big, bold claim. So that is the purpose of what we're going to do today. Um, what's that, Chris? I love this. Uh, Millie had a birthday on Saturday. Well, Millie, you should have said something last night, girl. Happy birthday to you. My goodness. Shadow Fives, we need no religions, only the truth. Yeah, I'm right there. And isn't it odd how they build religions around quote unquote the truth? So, want to get this. So this paper here, it's interesting. So it says an afterlife, 40 years of research summarized in 4 pages. This is going to be fun, folks. So, what about the afterlife? My standard one-liner is I'm for it. But the fact that I'm for it doesn't make it true. Michael Sherman. So, is it true? Says this presentation will first examine what the skeptics say and then examine the most compelling line of evidence for post-mortem survival. I like this. So someone says, well, so where do you stand? You can say, well, I'm a post-mortem mortem survivalist. What? Person goes on and says, I too was a skeptic who only gradually came to realize that I was wrong. I was reluctant to change my mind, but facts are a stubborn thing. But before I describe this evidence, let me present one more quotation. Sit down before fact like a child. Be prepared to give up every preconceived notion. Follow humbly wherever nature leads, and you will be learning nothing, and you will learn nothing. Thomas Henry Huxley. All right, Exhibit 1. Giving the skeptics their due with a summary statement of their view. Recognize, however, that they are largely uninvolved with near-death experience patients. Keith Augustine, philosopher, human consciousness requires a brain. Believe that? I don't. Susan Blackmore, philosopher, souls and afterlife implausible. Wow. I mean, it used to be the scary thought, It's like, well, if I die and all my memories are gone, how's anyone am I going to remember me? You're not going to care. You didn't exist. You're gone. We don't like that. Raymond Bradley, philosopher, survival metaphysically impossible. Jason Bradwaite, neuroscientist, no compelling evidence for survival. Christopher Finch, psychologist, paranormal phenomenon does not exist. Well, I happen to disagree with that, but all right. John Martin Fisher, philosopher, an afterlife is conceptually unintelligible. Well, John, I'm not sure I'm going to be a fan of your philosophy. Christoph Koch, neuroscientist, minds depend upon brains and can exist without them. David Lester, psychologist, insufficient evidence for survival. Stephen Novella, neurologist, your brain is you and you end when your brain dies. Well, scientists has now proven you wrong on that one, but I digress. David Papanou, philosopher, no trace of an immaterial soul. Hmm. Gialto Panini, Pachycenia, excuse me, no mental life after brain sensation. Finally, David Wiseman, neurologist, brain death results in annihilation. Well, isn't that a fun group? I mean, could you imagine all these folks in the same room? Really? Okay. So here is their general line of thinking. The brain somehow gives rise to our conscious mental life. This is true, although nobody can explain how the brain does this. There is no rational basis for believing in a non-physical soul. This is also true. Therefore, when we die and the material brain decomposes, survival of our conscious mental life is impossible. This is a non sequitur. Why? Because our brain could have transcended components that survive. This has been suggested by both Sir Karl Popper and the great neuroscientist Wilder Penfield. And now we're getting so good at our machines that we now know this pituitary gland that we have, that they've done everything they can in the Western world to kill it, to calcify it, that it does have a purpose. It seems like when you and I die, our brains and the neurons are imploding because of the lack of oxygen. And that's why, so many people see the white light, because that's what's happening. Your neurons are just go. um, there is something odd that begins to take over in this pineal gland. It's they don't know, but it begins to activate. Is it possibly a transporter? Or is it a collector of the essence of the energy that was stored in the physical brain and the body that is now condensing and coalescing into this transporter platform? No. Is there any reason to suppose that our brains has such a component? Yes, many reasons. The monotonous physical determined material components of the brain cannot account for the self, for mental unity, for the enormous varieties of subjective experiences, or for our self-evident ability to make choices and to act on them. Something new is needed. Is there any actual evidence that the brain has a transcendent component that has a superordinate's power over the material structures of the brain? Yes. Our executive functions, volition, the mental causation of brain changes. Psychosomatic disorders and psychosomatic healings, placebo and non-placebo effects, biofeedback, hypnotic analgesia, and similar phenomenon. Are there any other experts who agree with Popper and Penfield that the brain has a secondary transcendent component? Many. David Chalmers, Nobelist Sir Charles Sherrington, Nobelist Sir John Eccles, William James, Seymour Ketty, Jonathan Love, Kurt Dusevs, Jeffrey Schwartz, Wolfsinger, etc. Says all do believe all these similarities have Wikipedia entries. Okay. Note, it should also be noted that the notion of a unitary non-physical soul is a relatively modern notion. This concept of the soul essentially evolved from the ancient concept of the subtle energy body, a dualistic concept spanning most major civilizations. The ancient Egyptians, the Ankh, the Shakam, the Chinese Ku, Han Yang, the Hindus and the Buddhists of India, the Prana, the Atman, the Greeks, Phenomena, and the Psyche, native cultures around the world, and numerous other philosophical traditions all embrace variations of this concept. The soul is basically a Christianized version of the Greek's pneuma or psyche, a physicist, uh, physicist, physicist concept. Physical, excuse me. The soul is basically with the input of thinkers like Descartes. However, the physicalist concept of the soul became more abstract and rarefied until it became the idea that rational thinkers, including the ones above, love to hate. Ain't that the thing? Now let's examine what the NDE experts have to say about post-mortem survival. Notice that all are either physicians or psychologists directly involved with the near-death experience patients. And they are not Deepak Chopra types, but rather skeptics who tried to find conventional medical explanations for NDEs. Exhibit 2A, the most prominent NDA researchers and their views, experts directly involved with near-death experience patients, their original view and then their later view. Kenneth Ring, psychologist, was a skeptic. Now he's convinced of survival. Raymond Moody, psychiatrist, was a skeptic, now convinced of survival. Sam Perina, resuscitation physicist, boy, I bet he's got some stories, was a skeptic, now he's a believer. Bruce Grayson, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, psychiatrist, Michael Schobon, cardiologist, Prim Van Lommel, cardiologist, Jeffrey Long, oncologist, Peter Fenwick, neuropsychiatrist, Janice Holden, psychiatrist, believer, and then her beliefs have been vindicated. That's interesting. Lauren Bell, critical care physician, was a skeptic. Now she believes that survival is likely. Finally, Kevin Nelson, neurologist, skeptic, still a skeptic. All right, I like that. Exhibit 2B, 12 physicians, the NDRs, who claimed they experienced a transcendent realm. These are presented simply because physicians are very rational and trusted professionals, because they are most likely to look for medical explanations for anomalous experiences, and because they know they risk ridicule and mistrust for relating their experiences. Still, they share their stories because they want to witness, to tell the truth, and to help patients cope with their experiences. All can be found on YouTube relating to their extraordinary experiences. Mary Neal, spinal surgeon, agnostic, UCLA Med School, residency, USC Hospital. Gene Hosher, ocular surgeon, University of Missouri. The list goes on and on. Pam Reynolds and Douglas Taylor, typical case suggesting why skeptics change their views. In 1991, songwriter Pam Reynolds was diagnosed with a very large aneurysm at the base of her brain. In order to operate, physicians had to first completely shut down her brain and body functions, called the hypothermic cardiac arrest or Operation Standstill. This required more than 20 medical professionals. They cooled her body to 60 degrees Fahrenheit, stopped her heartbeat and breathing, and drained all the blood from her brain. All her vital signs were closely monitored. Her brain waves flattened, and when her body temperature dropped to 60, her brainstem shut down. She was clinically dead. Reynolds, nevertheless, reported her soul leaving her body and experiencing lucid out-of-body awareness. She was able to make highly detailed and accurate observations of the operating room and equipment, and reported conversations between medical personnel. She then reported crossing over into a transcendent realm. Expedition members, this is what we're doing. And interacting with a long-dead grandmother and an uncle. The uncle finally brought her back and ushered her into her unconscious body. Reynolds reported that re-entering her body was like plunging into a pool of ice. That'll shock you. Wow. In 2001, actor Douglas Taylor suffered a cardiac arrest. It is well known that the brain's electrical activity ceases 10 to 20 seconds after the heart stops. 300 miles away, Taylor's grandfather suffered a heart attack at almost the exact same time. The grandson recalls that his soul left his body and he crossed over into a transcendent realm. There he saw about 20 deceased relatives assembled. In the interim, his grandfather actually died. Communicating telepathically, they informed Douglas, "Go back. We're not waiting for you." As he was leaving the transcendent realm, he sensed his grandfather approaching, and the grandfather gave him a parting message. Several days, that right there is just, it's worth a stop here and talk on. I mean, I find it interesting that there seems to be a welcoming party. I've read this so many times. So that right alone should give you high hopes that when your time comes, you're not going to be there by yourself. Even if you think no one loves you, there are others on the other side that deeply love you and care. You'll see. Several days later, after two major heart surgeries, Doug regained consciousness. He asked his mother about his grandfather. Doug's mother was initially forbidden by his physician to tell him about his grandfather's passing, but later he was told, and he was not surprised, but he was astonished by the whole turn of events. More than 100 cases similar to these are presented in the book. Sebastian Junger and Christoph Koch, not genuine NDEs. Sebastian Junger, journalist, and Christoph Koch, neuroscientist, both claim to have had near-death experiences. In 2020, Junger experienced a rupture of the pancreatic artery while at home with his family. The closest hospital was an hour away, and he came very close to dying. During the course of a period of unconsciousness, he encountered his deceased father, who invited Junger to join him. "It's okay," his father told him. "There's nothing to be scared of. I'll take care of you." The seeming reality of this encounter shook Junger's nihilistic worldview, and he now entertains the possibility of an afterlife. But he remains a skeptic and thinks it's most likely was an hallucination. Well, sure it was. In the same time period, Koch also claims to have had an utterly remarkable experience after taking a psychedelic drug. Haven't we all? Been right there with you, Koch. I understand. During his trip, he encountered a singularity of overwhelming brightness and felt terror and ecstasy. It's like having sex for the first time. Yeah, he's scared shitless, but not afterward. He claims the experience caused him to lose all fear of death, but did not convince him of post-mortem survival. He still thinks his personal existence will end. Well, he got a surprise coming, doesn't he? But did either of these two luminaries actually have a near-death experience? It is not enough to simply claim that one has an NDE. Researchers use a 16-element inventory to determine whether an experience meets the criteria of an NDE. From their own reports, both Junger and Koch only affirmed 2 to 3 elements, and not the broad scale of components comprising of the typical near-death experience. So neither experience actually meets the requirements of an NDE. In these cases, it is perhaps more likely that both experiences were merely hallucinations. But isn't that odd that the mind in the waking consciousness can hallucinate to actually distort reality and be as real as what you and I supposedly sitting in reality? The New York Academy of Sciences weighs in. In 2022, the prestigious Annals of the New York Academy of Sciences published a study on NDEs favoring a survival hypothesis. It was drafted by a multidisciplinary team of medical specialists. The study examined the accumulated scientific evidence and represents the first ever peer-reviewed consensus about near-death experiences. The researchers represent the neuroscience, critical care, psychiatry, psychology, and are from many of the world's leading academic institutions, including Harvard, NYU, the University of Virginia, King's College London. Among their conclusions are the following. The recalled experiences of those undergoing NDEs are not consistent with hallucinations, illusions, or psychedelic drug-induced experiences, emphasis added. Instead, they follow a specific narrative arc involving a perception of A, separation from the body with a heightened, vast sense of consciousness and recognition of death. B, travel to a destination. C, meaningful and purposeful review of their life. A perception of D, being in a place that feels like home. And E, a return back to life. Final summary. Here's why NDEs are powerful evidence for post-mortem survival. These arguments have been gleaned from 10 books on survival presented in Appendix B. 1. The contra-illusion arguments. When a person has a dream, hallucination, or some other form of illusionary experience, it is almost always recognized as such when they return to a normal waking state. These experiencing NDEs, by contrast, universally express a certainty that the experiences were reality-based and authentic. These included those who were previously skeptics about existence of an afterlife. Unlike dreams or hallucinations, NDEs have a wide awake, coherent, lucid quality. Further hallucinations vary widely between individuals, but NDEs have the same universal character. 2. Flat EEGs. Over the past 20 years, it has been established by several studies that NDEs can occur when there is no cerebral activity following cardiac arrest or under general anesthesia. These facts alone nullify skeptics' claim that NDEs are hallucinations caused by faulty or abnormal brain activity. Conventional medical explanations have failed to account for them. 3. Skeptical experts convinced. Most of the major researchers in the field, cardiologists, psychologists, psychiatrists, were skeptics trying to provide a conventional medical explanation for NDEs. These attempts failed, and after a long process of conversation, most were forced to conclude that these are authentic experiences which must be taken at face value. 4. Abundant vertical perceptions. While their bodies are unconscious, NDErs have reported out-of-body observations that have been precisely verified. The minute of resuscitation procedures have been accurately described, as well as medical personnel, conversation, and many other activities in the immediate area. Even more impressive are accurate descriptions of remote events taking place in a more distant location. 5. Pain vanishers. When people suffer a medical crisis involving severe pain, they report that the perception of pain immediately ceases once they enter the out-of-body phase of an NDE. Conversely, when this phase ends, they report an immediate resumption of the pain. If NDEs were purely subjective phenomenon, there would exist no sharp demarcations in the perception of pain. 6. No falsifying elements. If NDEs are illusionary, this would certainly have been established by now based on their content. When someone has a dream or hallucination, the content thereof is fictional. We might dream of spending time with Taylor Swift or Tom Brady, but we know after returning to normal waking consciousness that these events were fictitious. By contrast, NDEs do not have false content that proves they are inauthentic. Children, for example, do not report encountering a favorite parent unless that parent has died. And adults do not report encountering a spouse unless their spouse has died. 7. Surprising encounters. On the flip side of the previous argument are some of the most astounding cases in the NDE literature, instances in which the subject encountered a person they thought was alive but wasn't. Psychiatrist Bruce Grayson reported the case of a patient whose favorite nurse informed him that she would be away for the weekend. During that time, the patient has a cardiac arrest and an NDE. In this state, he encountered the nurse who informed him that she had visited her parents over the weekend. They presented her with a red MGB for her birthday. How cool is that? She drove off to test it, lost control, struck a tree, and was killed instantly. The nurse asked him to contact her parents and tell them she was fine and loved them. All these facts checked out precisely. Transformations. Illusions, dreams, and hallucinations don't transform people's lives in positive ways. NDEs virtually always do. Experiencers, including those who were previously skeptics, report revitalized lives, loss of fear of death, perception of meaning, more altruistic attitudes, and other improvements in their outlook. What also is persuasive is seeing and hearing the testimony of highly intelligent, credible, level-headed people recalling their experience. There have been perhaps a dozen documentaries produced on NDEs over the past 25 years, BBC, ABC, Learning Channel, Discovery, etc., and all but one sided with the conclusion that NDEs constitute a genuine glimpse of a higher reality. So even those who are not yet convinced of survival by this data should admit to themselves that there is good reason to begin to question their assumptions. And then here's some quotes. The main reason for the decline in belief in life after death in the late modern world, especially among intellectuals, is not a lack of evidence, but a worldview that strongly discourages any serious examination of the evidence. Pat yourself in the back if you're watching, if you have other interests of other channels of similar content. Yeah, we know. The sheer volume of evidence for survival after death is so immense that to ignore it is like standing at the foot of Mount Everest and insisting that you cannot see the mountain. The evidence is so strong that it would be rather perverse to go on thinking up objections. Present-day physics represents a limited case. valid for inanimate objects. It will have to be replaced by new laws based on new concepts if organisms with consciousness are to be described. And I think that's a lot what I see when we go off into these astral realms. There are intelligent, higher intelligent beings. And it seems like the current power structure of those in control, which have very low IQs, have been purposely cutting off any type of enlightenment. The thing about it is the enlightenment phenomenon is spreading. Why? Because when people stop believing in one religion or God, there's this vacuum, and they're going to find it, they're going to fill it with something that they can more readily relate to and see and experience the supernatural. The paranormal, yeah, but that's what we're drawn towards. That's why most churches are dead. There's no supernatural things happening. You don't see people levitating and walking, in areas. Yeah. I regard the self-conscious mind as an emergent product of the brain. It is something utterly different from anything which has previously existed in the world. I mean, I got to tell you, I consider ourselves really privileged to even be able to experiment, to try. That's cool. There are systematic reasons why the usual methods of cognitive science and neuroscience fail to account for conscious experience. These are simply the wrong sorts of methods. Nothing can yield an explanation. To account for conscious experience, we need an extra ingredient in the explanation. If this position is to have a name, a good chance might be the naturalistic dualism. Oh, I kind of like that. The mind may be a very subtle type of energy similar to electromagnetic waves that is still not amenable to measurements by our scientific tools. I agree with you, Sam. To expect the brain to carry out what the mind does and thus perform all the functions of the mind is quite absurd. It appears that there is, in fact, a second fundamental element and a second form of energy. The mind has energy. The form of that energy is different from that of neurons. Can electrical energy take two forms? Can there be energy without structure? Where does the mind come from? Who can say it exists at present? One can simply say the mind is born. So, man, where does the time go? Anyway, and then we had this one, and we'll pick up on this one probably on Wednesday. Glimpses into the great beyond. And you're going to love this because it gets into even some of the more well, if you've ever had an NDE, technically have been dead, um, you know. Awareness is a good, however, not too much and out of focus on your. Okay, I'm just dropping in for the conversation. You don't mind me. But anyway, cheers, everybody. This is what drives me. And I have a strong sense that we're being guided. I mean, society, government, religion, politics, the current versions that are here are death. They offer humanity nothing. We have to be the tip of that spear that brings in a new way of thinking, that pierces the very heart of our social consciousness, that rises us above the technology and the mayhem of the same ideologies that have failed us for thousands of years. We have the technology. We can use it to our benefit, not the other way around. We can control it. We can reject AI. We can reject all of it, but we can use that energy that allows us to project ourselves into a realm where the supernatural beings exist. The ones that probably at one time their ancestors gave us religion. They've communicated with us. And I think that there is now the hope of humans such as ourselves that say, no, we're not going to take the mundane, the same old. No, because the fact of the matter, these that are in control, trying to get into power, they're going to kill us. Their whole thing, let North Carolina be an example. And I hope like hell that the folks there in the government there in the state of Florida will take a far more proactive stance. But my point is, their policies are poison. Their whole viewpoints are poison. Their politics is poison. Their religion is poison. Their philosophy is poison. There has to be a better way. There has to be another way of thinking. So there. Hey, Michelle. Uh, I just read that. So anyway, Alter Instinct, we're definitely welcome. Haven't seen you before, and welcome. We're definitely at the forefront of a change. Yes, we are. I got to tell you, I love this group. And as we get more intimate with one another, we find out our backgrounds, our paths. And though they were different, they are so much similar. And it's not coincidence when you begin to have this type of people. It's a non-entertainment channel. This is philosophy. This is, open-minded, critical thinking. These are not popular channels. We don't sell the potions and notions. We seek to understand. And when we gather this knowledge, we cannot regurgitate it into the same fashion that it has been regurgitated in the past. We can use it, take it, but there is yet knowledge that has not been fully explained or even understood. I believe we're the pioneers of that. I'm so proud of every person that volunteered beyond their own fears, their own intrepidations, and said, listen, I want to be a part of this, and moved forward beyond all the fear and the hype of that, and said, no. You see, I think our country has been cursed. I think the world's been cursed. We know it has been. I think it's time to reverse the curse. That's just me. All right, folks, I went over again. Gee, like that's new. But anyway, so tomorrow, I've got Miss Trina, hopefully Jenny, and I'm going to bring on another guest. And so have a great day, man. I mean, there's no rain here. We haven't seen rain. It's blue skies, bright sunny skies with the sunshine is shining, and we're making electricity, so all is well. Nina says, please help me grow my new channel. Yeah, and let's get her over there. I'm going to get Nina. In fact, if you want to come on tomorrow, I'd love to have you. So we'll spread some of that love. She's struggling with getting subscribers, and maybe we can all do her a big favor and subscribe to it. Remember, I think you had your channel taken down, wasn't it? But we can help you build it back up. So there we go. Ginger, love you, Soul Tribe. Gaia, much love to you and Paul. Colleen, good to see you. We have blue skies here today in North Carolina. Well, Colleen, we're sending you love, darling. And boy, have you heard about the Yellow Jackets down there? Oh man, when I read that story, I had to freak my ass out. Got stung by one of those little bastards. You know what though? And they build their nest inside the ground. I got a story on that. It was a massacre. I'll tell you, I was God and I wiped them out. Hey, Ryan. Everyone, have yourself a beautiful day. Well, thank you, Stephanie Marie. Much love to you as well. All right, folks, smile, Keep that smile. It even if you have to do it just for an hour, which I try to do here for all of us, it will it will reverse the aging. It reverses all that negative shit that they keep trying to pile on us. So spread the love, love yourself, get yourself the golden dragon. Yeah, I tell you what, it came in a dream, and the next thing I know, it's coming in physicality. I've got one here. I'll show y'all. Oh, man. Now this is cool. Look at this guy. Is that not just cool? Now that's a golden dragon. Why do I hear Golden Country REO Speedwagon in my head? All right, everybody. A smile creates health. That's right. So, all right, folks, have a good one. See you here tomorrow with the ladies and make the most of it.